Over the past 6 years, I've spent £30,000 on coaching. And in this video, I want to share with you whether it was worth it. Hi, I'm Lizzie Benton, a company culture coach based here in the UK. And over the past 7 years of my business, I've hired coaches to support me in my personal growth and business development. So far, I've spent £30,000 on coaches. In fact, when I did the exact math, it was £28,995. Not quite 30,000, but still a pretty big number. This amount has been spent across 3 different coaches and across 6 years of my business. And in this video, I want to share why I chose to have a coach, why I changed coaches, and whether I think this investment was worth it. If you're considering investing in a coach this year, you might have some big questions. For example, is it worth it? What will I get from it? How much money should I be spending on a coach? And how do I choose a coach when there are so many out there? I'm going to answer all of these questions in this video. First of all, let's answer the biggest question that you might have around coaching. What is a coach? From my personal experience, a coach is someone who gets you from where you are now to where you want to be. So they are helping you move forward in some kind of capacity, whether that is through personal growth, through business goals, or relationships. There are coaches for pretty much everything these days. I personally believe that if you want to be a high-performing individual, then you should have a coach. Just like a high-performing athlete has a coach, you as an individual, no matter what capacity that you operate in, should also have a coach. That is just my personal belief. I want to be really honest about why I wanted a coach in the first place. And that is because my confidence and imposter syndrome was really holding me back. I was honestly so petrified I would remove myself from as many social situations as possible and completely freeze whenever I spoke about my business or what I did. And I knew that if I was going to grow my business, if I wanted to have the business that I dreamed of, I absolutely had to work on my confidence and my imposter syndrome. Looking back now, I also realise how much I really needed the support in those early days of my business. Although I had my amazing partner giving me lots of support and cheerleading me, and I have some amazing friends, there was no one I felt I could speak to directly about the business who was like my business mentor, coach, supporting me, giving me guidance and structure. I didn't have a business plan. I didn't have any idea about what else I could do with the business. I just had these ideas but didn't really know how to format them or put them into any working order. And so I felt like I needed someone to really support me, guide me, take me through a process, because I just didn't have anything and I felt very, very lost. And the third reason I really wanted a coach was because I felt like I was in this kind of stuck in a rut mindset. And I just didn't feel like I had any momentum working towards my bigger goals or my bigger dreams. I just felt like I was on this kind of relentless treadmill, doing the same things over and over again, but not actually getting anywhere. And so I just needed someone to help me to switch on to what do I need to be doing in order to be focusing on my dreams, so that I actually feel like I'm taking action on the things that really matter to me. Now that I've shared some context about why I wanted a coach, I'm now going to share with you the 3 coaches that I've worked with across the 6 years of my business, how much I spent with them, as well as what I felt I got out of that. But I won't be sharing any of their personal details, their names, or their business, because I don't want to give you any recommendations and referrals that aren't fit for you. Having a coach is a very personal thing, and I would not want you to kind of follow something that I've done just because I've said it and it worked for me. You really have to do your own research when it comes to finding a coach that you feel comfortable with. So, with that said, let's get down to the interesting stuff. The first coach I worked with was in 2019, and she was £50 per hour, and I had a 1 hour session every month. And that lasted for 6 months. So I worked with this lady for 6 months in 2019. And that really supported me in helping with this confidence and imposter syndrome. So that's where we predominantly focused in my first ever coaching sessions: confidence and imposter syndrome. I'm sure many of you out there have had moments where you've also wanted to work on this area. And that was really great in that particular moment of my development. But as I started to gain more confidence, I realized that she wasn't quite the coach that I needed to support me with more of the business goals, the business development. So I really wanted both some personal growth and business goals kind of combined into one coach. And this particular coach, as lovely as she was, just didn't have the skills or the attributes that I needed in terms of the business focus. So after 6 months, I said goodbye to this coach, thanked her for the work, and I went on to find someone else. I started working with my second coach in 2020. And let me just say, before I tell you the cost, this is a big, like a huge jump from where I started to what I then decided to invest in. So with this coach, it was £19,000 for the year. And that included 2 one-to-one coaching sessions per month, plus admission onto a 12-week business acceleration program. Now, the reason I think the cost was so high on this particular coach is because she is well known in the industry. She's kind of got a bit of a cult-like celebrity following. And so I feel like that really shot the price up. Like, she's been featured in all the magazines and all that kind of thing. She's got like millions of followers on social media. So of course, like, her value was much more significant than my lovely local coach. So I literally went from £50 to £19,000 spending money. Big, big difference. But I must say, this was totally worth it in terms of the investment, because at this point we worked on my business plan, my business strategy, quarterly goals. We also worked on my mindset and my beliefs. For example, I didn't realize I had such poor beliefs around money mindset. You know, I rocked up to the session and I was like, money's evil, and you're not going to make any money if you think money's evil. So there were lots of unraveling happening with this coach, and I felt like after every session we had, there was lots of actions to take away, and there was real momentum in what I was getting from these sessions. She also massively helped me shift during 2020. As we all know, it was COVID and lockdowns, and I had some very dark days about what I was going to do with the business. And she really helped me to shift things, look for the opportunities. And I genuinely believe that if it hadn't been for her, I probably would have closed up my business and given up in 2020. However, I do want to share some red flags about this particular coach. I'm not going to name names or businesses, but on reflection, despite all of the amazing things that she supported me through, which absolutely was worth the £19,000, there are just a few red flags that I really want to make you aware of, especially if you are going to be investing in a coach. Now, the first one is the fact that sometimes she would rock up late to our one-to-ones, which really pissed me off, if I'm honest, because it just felt like she was coming unprepared and like she wasn't present for me. I have spent a huge sum of money. I expect someone to show up fully present and engaged and ready to support me. So that was one of the things that really frustrates me, and I did bring this up with her as well. The second thing is that when I first initially engaged with her, she did do some pressure selling, which I absolutely hate. And I don't do this in my business, and I really can't stand it when other people do. So she gave me a deal on this £19,000, which was meant to be like £30,000. So she'd knocked off a significant amount of money for me, supposedly. And, she's saying to me like, oh, you really need to make a decision by tomorrow because I've got a waiting list of people that want to work with me. So I really felt pressured into jumping on board straight away. And I just don't like that. And then third, after a year of working with her, she then tried to upsell me once our contract had ended. And I just didn't like that. I was very transparent about my financial situation at the time, and yet she still tried to make me spend more money. So I just found it a little bit crass, and it didn't quite sit right with me or my values. So I decided to say goodbye to that coach as well. Thank her for the amazing work that we'd done together for a year, but I just felt like it was time for me to move on and find someone else. Before I move on to the final coach that I've been working with, I want to share why you might change coaches during your coaching journey. And it's not just because of your financial situation changing. I believe that as you grow, develop, evolve as a person, you are naturally going to need someone who continues to challenge and stretch you. So the coach you start out with will not always be the same coach you have in, say, 5 years' time. Just as I've gone from coach to coach, I also believe that it's good to move through coaches who can help you go to that next level. It's exactly the same as a high-performing athlete. The coach that you have at school, say for running, your running coach, is not going to be the same coach that helps you get to Olympic gold. So you really have to think about, okay, if this coach is no longer a fit for me, what do I need next? So my third and final coach, who I started working with in 2021. And with this coach, I invested just under £10,000 across 18 months. And that included one-to-one coaching every month, and also a group coaching program that included some in-person events. Now, strangely, I actually discovered this coach completely by accident. I'd finished with my last coach and I was kind of on the lookout, but not actively searching for a new coach. And my friend invited me along to an event that she had a spare ticket for, and I saw this coach do a talk and speak at this event, and I was like, she is my next coach. I need to work with her. So it just goes to show, sometimes you end up discovering someone who you can really relate to and connect with, and you know that they're going to support you. And like I said, I've been working with this particular coach for more than 18 months, and she's helped me continue with developing my business ideas, developing my personal growth areas. And I feel like with this particular coach, I've found someone who I'm probably going to work with for a bit more long term. And what I really like about this coach, and what I believe every coach should do, is work with you about where you are at. So while we've done some one-to-one coaching, when I've not needed the one-to-one, there's been some great other workshops that she's hosted for me, as well as some group coaching as well. So I believe that every coach should also have a little bit of flex in how you can work together to make sure that it actually fits to you. And that is also what I really love about this particular coach that I'm working with now. So the big question is, was it all worth it? And I would say 100% yes. Yes, yes, yes. If you are going to work with a coach, I believe it is absolutely worth it, because although you may not see the immediate reward, like as in money in your bank, tangible outcomes, you will feel incredible, and that will in itself make you move differently, behave differently. There is so much that I have gained from coaching, a greater sense of self-awareness. I have been able to adapt and be so much more resilient within my business, which alone is very, very much needed when we are living in such challenging times. And I've also been able to really see my worth and explore things that I may never have done before. And also it's given me lots of tools and practices to embed into my business and my personal life that continue to pay dividends. So yes, even if you have a small amount of money to invest in coaching, I would say do it. And before you go away and start finding a coach, I want to just give you a few tips on how to choose a coach that is right for you. Because as I said, it is such a personal thing that even if I had recommended some of the coaches in this video that I've worked with, they might not have been the great fit for you. It's such a personal thing. So here's a few questions that I want you to consider about when you are searching for a coach. The first is, think about, why do you want a coach? Like, what is the change that you are seeking within yourself or within your life or within your business that you are looking for? What is it that you're hoping to achieve or move towards? There are also many different coaches out there, so consider what type of coach you also want. Is it a business or life coach, or is it a relationship coach? I've even had step parenting coaching because I wanted to improve my step parenting. So there are lots of amazing, varied coaches out there who also have a specialism that might be useful. Attend as many free sessions and webinars that coaches host as possible, because this way you will really get to connect with them and how they work and whether you're kind of vibing with their energy and what they're about. So try to attend as many free sessions, discovery calls, or webinars just to get a feel for who you feel most connected with. And finally, know what you're willing to spend and can afford. I have always set aside a budget for coaching because I have seen a great return on my investment for participating in coaching. And as a coach myself, I find it incredibly beneficial to be coached as well. So really think about, making sure that you're not pressure sold and that people aren't trying to encourage you down something that you can't afford that you might later resent or regret. I'd love to know if you are considering working with a coach this year. And if you have any questions about my experience that will help you on the journey, do just post them in the comments below and I will answer as many of them as possible.